Hi everyone, this is Erin from Sandpaper Road and welcome to the Scrapbook Tutor series. This episode is on journaling and we're going to start with the topic of purpose. Now I'm going to start by showing you this layout that I made a long time ago when I was scrapbooking my childhood. And I know that many of you probably do school years albums for yourself or your children or other relatives. And this is what I want to point out. The purpose of the journaling sometimes doesn't have to go with the picture you're trying to display. I mean, I think to myself, when I look at this picture actually had nothing to do with anything. It was totally a random picture. There was no story with it. It was just a picture either my mom or dad took when I was little. But what a missed opportunity for journaling. The purpose of the journaling could have been anything. I could have been talking about things about me when I was a kid, things my parents observed, what was I like, and just use the picture almost as like an enhancement to the journaling itself, where the journaling was the page. Here's another example of what I mean by that. I made this page maybe like 10 years ago when my kids were little. It's so funny because the same scenario, these pictures did not go with anything. And I can sure tell you that my kids never did the dishes like that. This was totally a fluke moment. They were playing in the water and I said, hey, why don't you do the dishes while you're at it? The sun was coming in so nice, but it wasn't like a moment. It was just some pictures I took because I liked the lighting. But what a missed opportunity. I don't have any journaling there. I totally could have talked about what they were like as brothers, what they were, just things about them, and made the journaling the page, the purpose of the page, and then use the pictures to sort of enhance the story that I was telling, where the story was the focus. A lot of times we make the pictures the focus, and I know that's fine. But sometimes I think the journaling could be the focus. And then you can use pictures to enhance. Here's another example. Oh my goodness. This page I made a long time ago. Look how different my style is. My goodness. Okay, so this picture was actually taken by a boyfriend of mine at the time in his photography class. Now, this was before we had digital cameras or the internet or anything like that. And we used to take pictures and then develop the film with like tubs of different chemicals and things like that. And that's what he did. That's that picture. But never mind the fact that now my son, my oldest son, is just as old as I am in this picture. And what a missed opportunity. I could have totally used the purpose of that scrapbook page to talk about me as a teenager. What was I like? What did I do? Just random things that don't fit anywhere else in the scrapbook. And then I could have used that picture just as almost like a focal point of my story, where again, the purpose of that page could have been a story I told or more about me, and I didn't. So the next topic I want to talk about is audience, which sort of goes along with that. And I'm going to show you this page. I love this layout. I made this so long ago. It's not really my style anymore, but I really like it at its core. I think I've shown this in about every episode of this series, as a matter of fact. But to focus on this, on the journaling, the audience, I am telling you that the journaling on this page was appropriate right after I made that layout, 5 years later after I made that layout, and now almost, oh my gosh, it's been almost 20 years since I made that layout. Has it? Oh my goodness. Well, regardless, I am here to tell you that that journaling still is perfect for whatever audience is reading that page. Family members, friends, my children, just years down the road, that journaling is perfect to describe where we were, what we were doing, what about that picture, what about that place. And I'm really pleased with the way I told that story there. Oh my goodness. And in contrast, here is this page talking about nothing. I was trying to be cutesy and literally never mind about the color and those embellishments and things. I actually talk about this page in another episode. But just looking at just the journaling, those 4 things down at the bottom, clearly I didn't have a Xyron machine at the time and tried to use wet glue with vellum. That is not a good idea. And I left it in there. Why? But anyway, looking at the audience, this again, I could have said so much about the fact that I wore a hat almost every day of my life at that time, and still to this day, come to think about it, I wear hats almost every day still. I mean, why couldn't I talk more about that? What do I like about hats? Why? I could have made the journaling much better for the audience. In the same way, here's what's funny, is it really doesn't make a difference how good your pages are or how bad your pages are in terms of color, structure, layout. I love this page. I made this just a few months ago. I love that. Every time I look at it, I'm happy because I like the colors, I like the placement, I like the pictures, I use my gel plate to make those embellishments. I love that. But it's lacking journaling. And yet I'm still doing that same thing. I'm still not telling the story of my pictures as much as I could, even if it's just a little bit. I need to consider the audience of the future. But yet I do it sometimes. Here's a layout I made a few months ago. Look at my son in his choir concert. Now, I forced myself to include journaling, not just from my perspective sitting in the seat, but I got with my son and said, "What can you tell me about the kids in this class, or what can you tell me about this concert or whatever?" And he told me a few things, and then I included them in the journaling. I even, excuse me, I even stamped an arrow to one of his friends, and then also mentioned about the kid that he said used to eat markers. Now, I would never know that, and I think it's so funny that he told me that. But in terms of audience, we have to remember that the audience of your journaling is not like a Facebook post. You're not offending anyone. You're telling the story as it was. So make sure you remember you're telling that story in your journaling. The next thing I want to talk about is journaling as the title. Now, this may not be something you ever thought to do before, but I have to show you this page. This is one of my favorite pages of all time that I ever made in my whole life. And I made it forever ago. But I wanted to tell the story so much of this conversation I had with my oldest son when he was little. And I documented it. I didn't even tell a story. I just put it in like dialogue, like when you read like a script. And then what I did was used letter stickers to make some of his words, the phrase "destroy parts," larger, which also serves as the title of that page. The funny thing is about this page isn't just the conversation I had with him, but the fact that these pictures literally don't have anything to do with that conversation. They weren't taken while I was talking with him. None of that. They were just some of those fluke pictures that were he just looked cute playing. He had one shoe on. Why? It was just him playing, talking. That was just him. But they perfectly enhanced that conversation. And then I used part of that conversation journaling as the title. I love that. It's so good. I need to do that more. Here's another example. I did the same thing. And I made this at that time when those kids were those ages. Now, when you first look at the page, the title looks like it says B, which is perfect. That's what I wanted. But then when you look a little closer, you see that it's actually some of the journaling. What do you want to be when you grow up? And I know it's a little wonky in the journaling or in the way it's stamped and stuff, but that's exactly the way I wanted it to look. And then I used, what did I use there on the pictures? I almost want to say I used like a white Sharpie or a white paint pen or something like that, and just journaled right on the picture itself. Now, again, we had digital copies, doubles or triples of the pictures, so it's no big deal. But I love that so much. But again, those pictures don't have anything to do with the conversation. They just enhance the conversation. So the journaling itself not only is part of the title, but that's sort of the focus of the page as a whole. And this is why I wanted to go back to this, because I think now that I see those other pages again, I think to myself, why didn't I do that here? I could have simply used a white paint pen or a Sharpie right there in that dark spot of that picture, just right around my back. I could have written some stuff, and it really enhanced a story or told some journaling and used the picture more as to enhance the story. I need to do that more for sure. Okay, and the last thing I want to talk about is some examples of creativity in your journaling. Just some creative ways to use your journaling. And I want to show you this page. I actually did bring this up in another episode in this series. And so aside from the way the layout is made, you can look at, do you know what that is there? All that writing? That is my grade card from first grade, folded open. And, back in the day, we had handwritten grade cards. And I remember just wanting to include that. I thought, what better journaling? What could I possibly say about myself in first grade that my teacher couldn't say the best? So folded that open and just left it. That's how it's adhered to the page lightly, so if I want to take it off and look at my grades and coloring or whatever, I can. But really, what's more important? Of course, the words she had to say. And I am really happy that I did that. That's a neat creative way to journal. So save those notes from teachers or those little awards things, anything that's handwritten beyond the obvious, that can make great journaling for a page. Now, another creative way to do journaling is to hide your journaling somewhere. And I know you've probably heard of this before if you've been scrapbooking for a little while. This page I made, I think, was part of a design team project or creative team project. So there aren't pictures there, but I do, as a matter of fact, I do remember it's a tutorial on how to make this hidden journaling. And I'll put a link right above this, right at the top of the screen. You can click on that if you want to watch it later. But the journaling pulls out. It's hidden journaling. It's got its own little page protector. And then that way you can slide it in and out from within the page itself. And the back is plain. Like you don't have this piece hanging out the back. There's a way you can do it where it like encloses. And yeah, I like that. So that's another creative way you can use journaling. You can sort of hide it in a pull-out thing. Journaling paper. You can also put like little pictures in there if you wanted to hide those too. Oh my goodness, I had to show you this page. I just made this actually a few months ago for a design team project for Craft a Clock. We do this corny thing in my house where I get the kids ready for school. And of course, they're older now, so getting them ready and excited for school is a little bit more of a chore. And so, we just have this little family tradition we do and with our school supplies. But here I put the journaling inside a bunch of flaps. So there's pictures and embellishments and things like that. And you open up all these flaps. And this is good too, because my older son, he did not want those pictures to be shown in the layout, but I can hide them, in the flaps. And then there, when you get to the bottom of the flaps, then there you can put the journaling. And I didn't show the journaling in this picture. This was before I added it, but that's where I ended up putting the journaling. So another creative way to use journaling and hide it. And making those flaps is not difficult. I've got a tutorial there on my channel as well. It's really just a matter of folding the paper over and over and adding little tabs. Oh, and here's another example of how you can use some hidden journaling. This one I just made just a few months ago, actually, for another design team project. Wow, my style has really changed, hasn't it, over the years? It's fun to see, look back. But there's spots where the photos would be, and then when you open up, there's like a little tie here that I had to tie the flap shut. And when you undo that tie, that whole half of the page opens up to reveal a whole other half where you can put hidden photos, hidden journaling, all these little secret flaps, kind of like secret treasures to go along with that pirate and that mermaid type theme. And just things like you could open up that flap and have another photo. And then there's even more flaps that you could open up to have like journaling and another photo to go with. There's another one. Or you could put journaling there. See that scroll that doesn't have anything? So sometimes if you find like good stickers that can like hold good ink, that have like a matte finish, you could even add journaling right onto like a sticker or a die cut or something like that. So thanks so much for watching this episode of Scrapbook Tutor on journaling. And I encourage you to check out other videos on the Sandpaper Road channel. And thanks so much for subscribing. And also make sure to tune in to the other episodes of Scrapbook Tutor as well. And we will see you in the next video. Bye-bye.